Hello, it's Brian. I'm back again with another project video. Today I'm going to be working on a candle lantern. I've been looking to make a candle lantern for a while to go along with my Middle-earth Ranger interpretation, but one of the problems that I've had is, as far as candle lanterns you can buy, they're either very obviously modern, or they're designs that were of the late 18th, early 19th century that are like folding and brass and glass, and they're really complicated, they're gorgeous, and they're fantastic, and I would love to have one, but they're expensive, and I don't know that that level of technology actually fits what I'm going for in my interpretation. So I was scrolling through Pinterest, and I ran across a candle lantern design, which is this one right here. And from the outside, it just looks like an Altoids tin, which is essentially what it is. Obviously, it's not an Altoids tin because this is manufactured specifically for this. When you open it up on the inside, there's this small piece that hinges out and holds a candle. Words are great. Holds a candle, and then the insides of the tin itself are reflective, and it'll help kind of focus the light a little bit and give you a little bit of light discipline. Obviously, if you're using a candle in the forest at night, your light discipline is terrible from a military standpoint. So this would be something that would not be used whenever you were in a situation where you did not want to be detected. But anyway, so I looked at it and I thought, well, that's an appropriate level of technology. It's a very simple design that could be manufactured by a local tinsmith, and this is without bringing in like elves and dwarves and crazy levels of technology, but just a simple, Breland tinsmith could kick up one of these things pretty simply. And so can I. So I started off with an Altoids tin. Now in this case, this was the cinnamon Altoids, which doesn't make a difference at all, but explains the paint, what's a little bit different. I've sanded most of the paint off of it. There's some dings and dents because this tin's been around for a while and I've been using it for a lot of different things that left some of the paint in there, and I started to try to polish all that out, and I decided, you know what, I don't care. It's gonna get further scuffed and worn as I use it, so I'm just gonna leave that on there. So that's the tin that I'm going to be using. Now this is a little bit smaller than the candle lantern that was sold, and I am going to link to the website that sells those because if you don't want to go through the trouble of making one of those, it's a really cool piece of kit. And it's not my idea. I don't want to give them full credit for it. So on the inside, let me get this stuff out. You can see it's pretty reflective. So I think that'll work well, but I need something to hold the candle and attach here and hold the candle out in front. So this is just a piece of cotton canvas. It has a couple of candles rolled up in it, so let me set that to the side. Actually, I'll set one of the candles to the side too. So here's the basic idea. Now this candle here is probably a little bit taller than I would want to use, but I need something to hold this candle out here somewhere, right? So that the sides will reflect it towards whatever area I'm actually doing my work, and I need my light. So I don't have a lot of scrap metal laying around. That's a lie. I have a lot of scrap metal laying around. I don't, however, have specifically what I would want to shape this from scratch. I considered using the sides of a heavy tin can, and that would work. That would also require me to roll the edges and do a lot of other work to it to keep me from cutting myself on it. But this is a 1/2-inch piece of copper pipe, which is the exact same outer diameter as my candle. Now, it's going to take a little bit of work to get this to the shape that I need. So let me talk you through my process, and then I'll show you guys as I'm working along with it. We're going to set the tin off to the side. And the candle. So you can see I've already cut through the pipe, almost all the way through from one side. My next step is I'm going to take my Dremel tool and I'm going to trim down the sides of the pipe here and here, right? So that's going to leave me with just a tongue of copper coming off of an intact piece of pipe. I'm then going to come on the top of this piece of pipe and I'm going to cut down that to open this up so that I can spread it slightly so that the candle would fit into it better. I'm also going to flare the top slightly, again, to allow the candle to go in and out better. And since it is copper, I will be able to adjust that in the field relatively easily. Then I'll take this and bend it flat over there, I'll trim it to whatever length that I need and whatever width. Obviously I'm going to have a lot of excess copper I might need to trim down and round off. I'll drill a hole in the end, and then I'll need to make a pin to use as a hinge. I've got a couple of different options to use for that. I've got some bronze welding rods that I could use. I could use, you know, a nail. I could use an iron nail pretty easily and just ping the ends. But that's where I am so far. So I am going to take this over and use the Dremel to cut the sides, and I'll shoot some video of that process as well. And let's go ahead and get started on the build. Here we are over at the old Black & Decker Workmate. So I'm going to take the pipe, we're going to clamp it into the end of this. I'm going to clamp it just like that. We'll take the Dremel and cut this side, we'll flip it over, and we'll do the other side. Riveting theater, watching me turn handles. Yes, yes I know. So let's tighten that down. I don't want to tighten it too tight because this thing is absolutely strong enough to compress the copper. I don't want to do that. So I've got my Dremel with my abrasive cutoff wheel in it. I do have my safety glasses on for all of you that are concerned for my eyes. So let's go ahead and get started on this. And I right away see that I have made a terrible mistake. I am not going to be able to properly apply my Dremel tool in this position. So you guys get to learn along with me as I loosen this up and bring it out a little bit. Now with this position here, I'm not going to be able to apply as much pressure with the Dremel tool, but shouldn't have to. One side. Now I'm going to guess that that's probably, and it is, incredibly hot. So we're going to throw on a glove here. Flip that around. Cut the other side. Cooking along. Let's take that. All right. Now for this, I'm actually going to clamp this like this, and I don't care if I flatten it because I'm going to end up flattening it anyway. And then we'll come along from this angle here and cut this side. Step 2 is complete. I'm not going to need to do a lot of really heavy work, so I'm just going to be using the light ball peen hammer here. I'm going to start off with the needle nose pliers. I'm going to grip from the circle end, and I'm just going to work to flatten out this end over here so that I can more evenly grip it later. Now, I am eventually going to put a curve on this side, but I want to work the loop first before I do that. Also, before I put a lot of work into that, I do like the effect that the ball peen has on the copper as far as an aesthetic goes. So while this is flat, I'm just going to hammer that a little bit. All right, so now we need to open this up a little bit. I'm going to get one of my candles over here. You can see that's not really close. It's been compressed somewhat. All right, so we flared it out quite a bit there. My anvil horn is not exactly round, so we're just going to do the best we can from that perspective. I'm just going to lightly work that back around to close to round. See where we're at on our candle. So that's actually exactly what I'm looking for, just close enough to where it'll shave just a little bit off of that wax and hold that candle in place. So that is a very sturdy hold on the candle. So I'm going to come in here with a file and some sandpaper, probably round that corner off. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and put my bend in here, and then I'm going to work to flare this out just a little bit. Actually, I'm probably not going to do a ton because I like the way that that cut in there. It didn't really take that much off the candle, but it's just enough to where that works. So it's always nice when you get something right the first try. Now, the trick is, can I put the bend in here without deforming the eye that I've made? Alright, so we've got our piece that will hinge in and out. All right, we'll round those corners off. Let's bring our candle back over. Yep. That still works. Now looking on the back side here, you can see that's opened up just a little bit there. So I'm going to see if I can get that adjusted just a little bit smaller. And to do that, it's about a little bit of a gap. So I'm going to bend this part out a little bit and then just bend this with the pliers. There we go. Now you can see the candle seats evenly all the way around. We still have our good solid hold. And I need to bend this just a hair. And there we go. So let's grab our tin. The idea is to have this hinge here, like this, so it'll actually come out like that. And I think that size is dang near perfect. We just need to, again, round these edges off. And I might just bite those off with a cold chisel, just to save me some time on the grinding. All right, I'm gonna do the smoothing work on that and I'll be right back. All right, so you can see I've got the end of that rounded off, rounded the corners and kind of smoothed all of my interior edges a little bit. So now, once we pin that in place, that will rotate in and out just fine. Now I will need to put some sort of a spacer here because this is a rolled edge, and if I don't put a spacer, then this will not, if once I put it in there, hear that click, it won't come back out. Now I might not put a spacer because then I have to lift up on it, and that puts that under tension, which means this is going to be more stable. We'll see how it goes. Guess a lot of it depends on what I end up using for my pin. And punch the hole here and here for the pin to go through. And I did punch this offset enough to where when this closes, that pin will not interfere with closing of the tin. Now, I did this just with a finishing nail. I just set this on a block of wood and punched it through. Now I punched the tin from the outside in, and that gives me a little bit of a raised piece there, which means when this sits on that, it'll turn, and that actually will fill that space without me having to put a washer on there to keep this, to give this clearance. Now I am going to be using this bronze wire as the pin itself, because the thickness of this wire is the same as the rolled edge on this tin, so it should balance out the base. So all I'm going to do now is just take this top section and I'm going to make a twist in it. Let's just grab that right at the tip of the needle as pliers. Just roll it around. Theoretically, so I got my little twist there. Pinch that closed. Line all that up straight. And I'm going to grab that. Look at this tight. Again, pinch that closed again. So that just gives me a little bit of an end there. So then when I slide this through here, that'll keep that from going through. So I'll feed that through there. Go ahead and test. I'm just going to put some tension on that. And that turns just fine. Now I am going to attempt to fold this in this direction, in line with that itself. Sorry, working off camera there for a second. So that if this does get locked in place when I turn it, it will actually turn out the fold. So let's see if we can actually get that to fold crisply. And to do that, I'm just going to hold that with my thumb there, just push against. This bronze wire is a little bit tougher than I thought. That's okay. I'll just grab the pliers there. Fold it like that. Now, what I didn't take into account for is that flop there. So probably what I'm going to do to mitigate that is once I trim this off here, I'm actually going to fold that down, and that'll keep the pin from wobbling around like that. So let's go ahead and try that out. Trim this off right there. And then to keep all of that from parting ways, let's see if we can get this crimped down. This is awkward to work on while also trying to make sure I keep it on camera. But or as with any time that I'm working with pliers, making sure that I can guide it with my fingers to get it into the proper position while not also putting my fingers in the way so that when it slips off like that, it pinches. A little bit tricky. Okay, we're getting the crimp started. There we go. All right. That's what I was looking for. Now it doesn't rattle. I should still be able to fold that out. You can see that follows the direction there. So I should be able to set that up just like that. Which means now we can take our candle stub from earlier. Screw it in there like that. So I need one of my candle stubs that actually has the top melted out. So let's set that right there. Grab that one. All right, so we could take our candle and screw it in. This is still flexible enough to give me some adjustment. That goes right there. And for the sake of speed, in this case, we're just going to light this. We'll screw it later. And now we have our little tiny candle lantern just glowing away. So just to wrap up, a couple of things that I will want to do to this I am going to go to the inside of that and polish it a little bit more, and I'll probably keep that piece of cotton canvas in the kit just so I can wrap up the loose candle and keep it from rattling around, and then I can use that canvas as well to polish the inside if it gets scuffed or tarnished or anything like that. But that is the completed build, and I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. So thank you everybody for watching, and I look forward to seeing everybody again soon on my next video.